Oh, hello. This episode of Cinema Swirl was brought to you with the support of our backers over at patreon.com/Cinema Swirl. If you want to support the show, Patreon is the place to go. $5 backers get access to Cinema Swill, our monthly exclusive bonus show, where Kevin and I review some really terrible movies, including our most recent episode, James Bond, Die Another Day. There's over 24 hours of bonus content which you'll get instant access to at that $5 level. Plus, there's plenty more stuff still to come, including a reverse swirl, which patrons will be getting early access to. Head over to patreon.com/Cinema Swirl, see if it's for you, check it out, have fun. Alright, let's get swirling.
Cinema Swirl! Oh, sure, we went through a nice grand drive through Cluny. It's episode number 63! Once again, back in the saddle, returning to the vault of Hollywood, turning the handle and the crank for all the magic that's coming out, because Sam Chaplin, my OTP and co-host, has not seen any of it up until now. How are you doing, Sam?
I'm alright, thank you. Very well. Glad to be driving through, where was it?
Cluny.
Yeah, lovely. How are you doing?
I'm very well. I'm always happy because, you know, I'm always an appreciator of second place, second chance runners-up, the losers, the weirdos, the oddballs. Yeah. And that's why we once again find ourselves tending bar at the Second Chance City Sicker Slaint Saloon. Because it's Second Chance Swirl, baby.
Wait, we've not done one of these for a while, it feels like, so this is a nice opportunity to dig back through some films that didn't make it in our votes previously, but we're pretty close. A lot of these were all pretty much neck and neck in their original votes.
Yeah, we had a lot of crazy close votes, like closer votes than we've ever had in Cinema Swirl, because Cinema Swirl always felt like it had the obvious choice in some respects in the votes, and then very often that was not the obvious choice that I thought, but at least something would win. Too much closeness at the moment, which is bad for democracy, as we know, Sam.
Yep, less closeness, more things further apart. We want to separate everything. So, the choices that we had over on facebook.com/Cinema Swirl were Con Air, Good Will Hunting, and Speed.
Wow.
This was not quite as tight as at the top as they were in their original votes. Con Air won by a considerable margin, but what I will say is that Good Will Hunting received 69 votes. Nice.
Way.
Yeah, 69 dudes.
And of course, Robin Williams, who really was one of the modern comedy gods of our time, I think he'd appreciate that.
He'd love that.
I think there'd be a little twinkle in his eye if he was to hear that.
Look, Kevin, it's not my place to say, but I feel like it's what he would have wanted.
I think so, absolutely. And I'll be happy to let him know as well that 69 is still a funny number in this day and age.
It's still funny. Still funny stuff.
That would be if I was contacted past my time, that would be my first reaction. It wouldn't be like, oh wait, hang on, this isn't some sort of an evil number or anything now that you've given me as for voting here now.
Sorry, just an image just popped into my head of, and I'm not saying this about Robin Williams, but just, ghosts and haunting in general.
Yeah.
If there was a ghost who, instead of going, ooh, went, way!
If you listen carefully, you can hear the rumbling of the stands. Some say they're like an extra player on the field, but I think they're just an extra chill down my spine. And you think they're chanting for goals? They're not. They're chanting for ghouls.
Come on, England, give us a ghoul.
No, don't. That's what they want.
Well. The Con Air. Nicolas Cage, who for the first 3.5 years of this podcast seemed to sidestep any sort of involvement, which I always thought was quite strange. Nary a mention. And sure, if you're waiting for one Nick Cage and then bloomin' 5 show up as the way it goes, and here we are now. I don't want to say I'm sick of Nick Cage, but I'm certainly hoping you're all not sick of Nick Cage, because here he comes once again. You know what? I don't think anyone's getting Nick sick. If you're not getting Nick sick. I don't want to nitpick, but I don't think anyone's getting Nick sick.
No, but in this movie, you may get some Air Nick instead, which is different.
I'm excited to see where Nick Cage takes this. I think he's become a firm favourite on the show.
Yeah, he's a fave?
I'm a fan of Nick. I enjoy his work, both on Swirl and Swill.
What? Yeah, he's appeared everywhere. That's what's great about him. He's multifaceted, and it's very funny. You can't really discern the performances from one and the other. Like, you know, it's more or less, you know. No. Face Off is an objectively good performance, whereas somehow The Wicker Man is an objectively bad performance. Get that out of here. No way. There's no way to know. What's your favourite Nick you've seen so far?
The best Nick would without a doubt would have to be Face Off Nick, who was just so kind of. I mean, so before the face exchange, the exchange of faces, a ludicrous villain, very kind of. It's just that heightened acting, that big acting from Nick is what I crave. And there was a lot of that in Face Off.
Now, you've got the title of Con Air. Mm-hmm. I assume you've seen the poster, as you tend to.
I've seen the poster. I'm aware, and I think I pointed this out before, it blew my mind. Well, Con Air presumably is a pun on aircon, right?
I will accept that. I will accept that. It's the weirdest thing, because since you brought that up, I've approached many people, and I will say with Con Air, it's certainly a movie that's been very important in my life, but only in the fact that a lot of people close to me, it has been one of their most important movies.
Right.
Like, this is the total recall of like many of my closest friends and whatnot.
This is their big movie.
It's a big movie for a lot of people, and I'm always happy to watch Con Air, but most of my experiences have been with people who, like, it was one of their original movies watching growing up, and that wasn't my experience with it, but we're in for an absolute howler here. But anyone who I've come up to who's been a big fan of it, and I said, oh yeah, Aircon, it's a parody or a pun on that, right?
Yeah.
And everyone has kind of went, yeah, I guess so. And then that's it. It's no impact whatsoever on the movie.
I feel like it must be, but like structurally, it's a strange way to present a pun or a bit of wordplay there. It's like reversing. It's confusing. It's not like the Neil Buchanan children's art show Art Attack, which is undoubtedly a pun on heart attack, which can be fatal and kills people. That's always not sat well with me when I think about Art Attack being a pun on heart attack. I'm like, that is a bad thing. And it's
maybe you shouldn't be so happy, Neil, every single time you've done one of these pieces. Maybe a little bit of dignity and respect for the subject matter, and then you raise your arms up and we do the big zoom out. So you've seen the poster, you've read the pun. What are you expecting from the lineup you see in there, the title that you have so effortlessly eviscerated? What is going to happen in Con Air?
Sam Chaplin slams Con Air title, destroys it.
Owns it. Ain't gonna be no Con Air 2, if you know what I'm saying.
Right, we'll go into who's in this. I think that's important to go into. And then what I think will happen. But the people who are in this... Now, I had it in my head, and I don't know why, that Kevin Spacey was in this. He isn't in this, which, I mean, good.
We've managed to avoid him, because he's in fucking everything. Like, if he was to show up in movies not as the main guy, I don't think anyone would be like, oh, why are they doing a Spacey movie? Because he fucking shows up everywhere. Yeah. Yet we've managed to really thread the needle here.
We've managed to avoid him. I was worried that that's what this one was. I never realised. But I think what's happened is that, so John Malkovich and John Cusack are in this. And I think if you mushed those two men together
and add a lot of crime,
and add a lot of crime, you'd sort of get a Spacey type figure. I don't know, but so John Cusack and John Malkovich, I know them both from Being John Malkovich.
Ah, you've seen that.
I'm not saying that John Malkovich, I know him from the fact that he is John Malkovich. The film Being John Malkovich, which I watched a long time ago.
Let me guess, had like that was the 50% of your A-levels was to watch Being John Malkovich.
No, I was not told by anyone to watch it.
All right, it just seems to be a recurring thing when there's any like kind of cool thing that I went out of my way to find as a teenager.
No.
All of you in England had a fucking course in it. Oh, what's your degree in? Coen Brothers, and I got an A, and now I'm a millionaire. Fuck that.
No, it was one of those things that I'd sought out because I was very interested in the work of Charlie Kaufman. I think this might have been the first of his things that I saw, and I remember loving it and it blowing my mind and being
so good, isn't it?
Wild. But I can't really remember that much of it. But I remember John Malkovich being interesting. I remember John Cusack being interesting. I've also seen Malkovich in that Space Force thing on Netflix now.
Ah, yeah, you've watched an episode of that as well, I think.
The show that is just going to replace The Office in everyone's hearts. Presumably, that's what Netflix want.
Well, the thing about The Office is that The Office was made to a strict deadline before the satire literally vaporized upon contact with current time.
Yeah.
So, like, I always feel a deadline is the most important thing in comedy,
I've watched some of that, and I feel guilty. I stopped. I got about 5 episodes in and then just kind of trailed off and thought, But John Malkovich was like nice in that. It was kind of fun.
I'm quite impressed at how quickly I'm able to trail off on Netflix series that aren't very good anymore. Like I've gotten that down to a lean 1 episode. I'm not this 5-6 episode business anymore. Fuck that.
I was trying to convince myself that it was good because I liked all of the people in it.
Yes,
and then it just didn't quite. It was okay. It's not bad.
They've done what most podcasts tend to do, which is to hide the fact that what they're talking about isn't very good by surrounding it with people that you like and recognise.
Yeah.
And that's our playbook. You're not allowed to use that in telly, all right? That's ours. You have to ask us permission.
So my knowledge of Malkovich is a little bit broader.
You've seen Johnny English, I'm assuming, right?
Have I seen... I think I've seen one of the Johnny Englishes, but didn't really pay that much attention. I've also seen John Malkovich in, Of Mice and Men, the adaptation of that, which I did have to watch for school.
Me too.
That was a school thing.
I remember like our teacher being like, just don't. All right, don't say anything. All right, just don't, because I'm going to put this on. Just don't say anything,
right?
Because it meant well when they made this. All right, so don't say anything.
It feels like it needs a proviso, that film.
Yeah, which is funny because when my brother was in school, like a few years earlier, and they were showing him the older version of Mice and Men, where Crooks is played by a white man in blackface. They got a similar chat where like, just don't. All right, just don't. Of Mice and Men. Better just read it and just read it.
But my view is that Malkovich is kind of a quirky character actor. He can seem quite imposing,
but he can also be very disarming, and he's not above being in a bit of trash as well. I think he's the working man's Philip Seymour Hoffman,
right? Okay.
In that, he obviously is very, very good. He's obviously better than Johnny English / Mission Impossible 3, but he's gonna go and blow your mind in Sin a Douche being John Malkovich.
I'm interested in Malkovich. Cusack, I don't know that much about, other than his performance in Being John Malkovich, which I remember being quite good. But I don't know. He pops up in a lot of things, but I don't feel like he's popped up in things recently as much.
He feels like he's one of the missing jigsaw pieces of your 90s / noughties zeitgeist that we've been slowly filling in these past 63 episodes.
He's definitely a 90s figure, I feel, John Cusack, in terms of...
yeah. He looks like he would have collected records. Hang on. In the 90s. There you see now. Right. He's different to what you were thinking now, isn't it? Yeah.
So, I know that they're in it. I don't know anyone else who's in it.
And what's happening, Sam?
Right.
Air condition repairman? What's going on?
Here's the thing about Con Air. I don't know what happens, but I can kind of guess.
Guess.
My understanding, my idea here, is that it's prisoners on a plane and it goes wrong. Right?
That's pretty close,
yeah. I don't know beyond that. I don't know, more details. I don't know who's who.
It's kind of like, you're right there in the sense that...
Con as in convict. Air as in airplane. Con Air. Convicts in the air. Disney on Ice.
You're convinced they're convicts. You don't think these are all like swindlers on a plane where they're like... I didn't get my peanuts, darling. And they're like...
it's like Hustle, but on a plane. Okay.
Exactly. It's a man in a luminous jacket walking up and down, taking all of the complimentary schnapps.
Swapping the briefcases, but they're in the overhead compartments.
This man's not helping this elderly lady with her luggage at all. He's stealing it.
Yeah. So I don't really know beyond that, but I just think... Okay. It's one of those prisoners on a plane. Something happens. Come on. It looks like an action film. This is not high drama.
Absolutely. That's the one word, action, right? Action. And I think, I don't know what fucking great new ground we're potentially going to break other than we're going to go watch an action movie with Nicolas Cage. It's going to be fucking awesome. But I'm fine with that if you are.
Yeah, we've been doing a lot of that kind of thing. And it feels nice, doesn't it? It just feels nice to do a fun action film.
I watched a fun Nick Cage 90s action movie, The Rock, the other night, just for fun. There you go.
Yeah.
If I have to do it for Cinema Swirl in a few months, I don't mind.
But that was a treat for you off the clock.
It is. Yeah. And Joe got to hear all the Sean Connery jokes that I was too afraid to make on our Bond episodes.
In a way, Kevin, you watching a Nicolas Cage action film feels much like a busman's holiday. A phrase I used in the Live and Let Die episode where it all comes together. Come on.
Come on now, Sam. Live and let leave it out, all right?
So, I know who's in it, but I can guess what happens. This is one of those ones that I'm kind of pumped for, because I think this
Okay.
has a good reputation as being, like, trashy fun, right?
Have you heard that from people? Like, has anyone ever been like, because this is a movie that I was always very impressed that was a stalwart of my original university days, and then when I moved to Lincoln and I had those days, it was still there with the younger folk.
I don't know where it comes from, but it feels like it fits into that pantheon of things like Face Off, not just films that have got Nick Cage in, but, you know, that big action, silly, fun, stick it on, have a popcorn, get a pizza.
It kind of feels like you've mastered Mario Kart, and now I'm going to show you, like, you know, a very basic, a new track, but a new track that's basically like a tutorial. Like, because you know you're Nick Cage now. You know what to expect. You're going to have a good time.
Yeah.
That doesn't take away from the fact that you're going to have an excellent time with this, you know, your knowledge notwithstanding. But I want to know what's in the goddamn mailbag.
Welcome, everyone, to the mailbag. Here we are in the old mailbag. Now, our first email here into cinemaswirl@gmail.com.
That's cinemaswirl@gmail.com.
Comes in from someone, and I shall reveal it in due course.
Oh, a mystery.
Reads as follows. Good day to you both, Sam and Kevin. On your Beverly Hills episode, after one Doug Bond messaged in, you put out the call for any listeners with famous names. Back in 1986, my parents decided that naming me after my dad was a good idea, in inverted commas, subsequently leaving me with the name Mike Tyson. Mike says, as you can imagine, this led to me having a life full of jokes, like, "Ooh, do you box?" and "Don't beat me up," and many references to biting ears.
That's the thing, the life of having a Mike Tyson name.
Mike
Tyson. Because we talked about Doug, that, you know, maybe, you know, in the later years now, when the new James Bond movies are coming out, and it might be a little bit sexy that he's got a Bond name, compared to the embarrassing Die Another Day days, where I'm sure he just didn't tell anyone his surname. Whereas Mike, I imagine he had in the 90s a lot of, like, very prominent sports figure, scary fall from grace, recriminations, attempted comeback. I bet if that's a name that you don't know what you're going to get if someone comes up to you.
There's peaks and troughs, I think, in having the name Mike Tyson.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Mike says, all these jokes have gotten very stale over the years, as you can imagine. He doesn't know how to tie it into films. It's fine, Mike, you don't need to, but he just mentions The Hangover. That should do it right, job done. Thanks, Mike. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. That's probably... I feel like that's the most, like, straight-up famous name we've had in. You know, we had Doug Bond, but Doug just had the surname.
But the name was Doug Bond. The name wasn't James, James Bond, you see. So it was... I think that takes the cake. And I'm not really sure if I should be offering... I mean, no, it does take the cake, because I offer you cake, Mike Tyson, for having to no doubt deal with the bullshit of having to deal with all that.
The famous name bar has been raised. Thank you, Mike. So, our next email into cinemaswirl@gmail.com comes from Tom, who writes,
That's cinemaswirl@gmail.com.
Hello, Kevin and Sam. Tom here. I was just listening to your previous episode on Live and Let Die. During the episode, Sam suggested that if he were to be thrown from a plane by nefarious types, he would like to be done so with a skateboard so he could attempt an amazing aerial manoeuvre. Kevin then said that if he were to land such a move, it would be so amazing that it would prompt the return of the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater series. Given the remaster of the first two Tony Hawk's games that have recently been announced... Can you please confirm or deny if Sam was indeed thrown from a plane and proceeded to land the sickest of 6 skateboard tricks upon landing? Many thanks, your pal Tom. I did it for the greater good. I did a big trick out of a plane. It was
good on you.
It's fucking gnarly, dude.
Yeah?
I landed it backside. I didn't land on my backside. I landed it backside and then went up a half pipe fakey.
Well, you know, like, guys, if you're a pro skater, you know kind of the conversation that's going to happen now. You'll often see it on the skate park where someone hits a sick trick and then their friend comes over, they slap hands, they embrace, and he says to the other, how many points did you get? So I was wondering, like, how many points did you get for that?
So many points that it went like off the screen. Like, it couldn't handle the amount of points. I broke real life's point counter with my sick trick.
I really appreciate you doing that, Sam, because you know, I know that Tony Hawk's isn't your flavour. That's not your brand, and you did it anyway.
Well, it was. It's important to remember that, you know, that these things start somewhere. It definitely started with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater.
Are you telling me that Skate stands on the shoulders of giants that are doing ollies and therefore even higher up still?
Yes. And I'm glad it's coming back. That did genuinely excite me, that announcement of the new Tony Hawk's game. So, well, a remaster. A remaster, and they had to previously do another remaster that was shit. And so now they've remastered it again. Hopefully it's going to be good. I don't know.
And the guys at Alien Ant Farm, there's no news on 3 being done yet, and we'll
wait and see.
I just don't, in these times, you don't want to seem too desperate. So let's just hold off now, and we're all here for you. The whole Cinema Swirl fan base will make a wish, a single dash wish. It's what we'll do, all right? We make wishes all the time, like, we'll be fine.
Also, Skate 3, apparently there's going to be a remake of that, but it's going to be a mobile port.
Awesome.
So, okay.
No, that's fine, son, because if you remember when we were younger, they had little skateboards you could use it for your fingers, and I'm sure them skills are transferable.
Yeah.
That you'll be able to go straight from ollie-in on those onto your phone there, and you'll be grand.
Here's hoping. So, thank you for that, Tom. Now, Jeff Maxfield... To use his full name here, because I think that's appropriate, he sent something in. He sent in some artwork. Now, normally, we've joked about not having people send in fan art before, but I secretly, I welcome it. I love it. It's great. It's a bit of fun.
I thought that was obvious from what we said.
It was just...
if we need to say right now that we really would appreciate artwork and fan works of any sort,
anything,
obviously we would.
Love it.
What it was earlier is that we wanted you to think we were cool. And it didn't matter to us. But before you go all grumbly, now that you have a higher opinion of us because you previously thought we were cool, the artwork will increase in quality as well. So
with the sunglasses on is what I would say.
So it was for your benefit, that lie.
If someone wants to draw me doing that sick skateboard trick with the shades on, then fine. So Jeff Maxfield, what he's done, this is really unfortunate. Jeff has sent in a picture, and it's Mark Commode as a spider brushing wet pavement.
What the fuck, Sam? Why did you do that?
It's so, like...
No artwork, please. None of that. No, we're fine.
Jeff's ruined it. Sorry.
No. No, you're not allowed to do that. Now I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
I haven't even seen it. Go on, show it to me. Go on. No, go on. Let's see it then.
We'll pop it up on the socials.
At least pork pie jelly didn't make its way into the image.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually, Jeff. If you really wanted to shit us up, you could have had like that kind of ooze, that pork pie ooze. Oh no, maybe the spider's tummy is filled with the pork pie ooze.
No.
And he's brushing that pave.
Is this what happens for us having an indulgent Nick Cage episode? That we just have to suffer for our art?
Jeff has punished us for no reason. I don't understand this, Jeff.
Jeff, you've punished us for our art with your art. This is like some sort of art Pokemon battle. Yeah, alright, okay, podcast type art Pokemon isn't like a real type. It's legitimate. Like the Pokemon with the microphones, it's legitimate.
I feel like what you've done, Jeff, is you've shown us a piece of work, but you've actually shown yourself to be a piece of work, because that is not on, alright?
I'd ask you to show your workings, but there wouldn't be workings with this, would there? There'd be plottings, wouldn't there? There'd be scheming.
So, thank you, in inverted commas, Jeff. Thanks for that. Final message here. This is interesting. Comes in from Ashley, who writes... In fact, Kevin, what I'm going to do, because this is germane to something I want to show you, and I'll get to what Ashley says in a minute, but basically it's referencing this. I want you to take a listen to this. Just before you play this, to give you some context on what you're listening to here.
Okay.
The people talking are Radio 1 breakfast DJ Greg James and Maccabee's guitarist Felix White. So...
Being very, cautious about crossing the road. Whenever I bring that up, I've had the reaction that you lot gave me last week, which is sort of, I would use the word indignation.
Well, we've received a lot of emails about risk solidarity as well, including an email from Dave, who says, after listening to last week's Tailenders, I then listened to an old episode of a podcast called Cinema Swirl.
Yes, the
About
plug.
8 minutes in, the two hosts were talking about unfortunate events and accidents involving musicians. Shall we have a listen? He sent the clip in. Here we go.
kind of vague band name terms, I got really excited because I was like, oh, if he says the Editors, I saw one of them fall down some stairs once.
Did you really?
Yeah, but it was only like, don't be like, oh, Kevin's laughing at the lad falling down. He fell down like 3 stairs.
Yeah.
You know, and he landed on his feet, but he slid
I know it's
in a way
coming here.
that made him seem very comical. Like if it was in a kid's movie, it would have went whoop, 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 you know, something like that. Like,
I think we've all got one of those stories because I was on a bus that nearly ran over the singer from the Maccabees.
wow.
So,
What?
yeah.
I knew what I just said, but I'm not. Obviously, I wasn't the singer in the Maccabees, so that isn't me he's referring to.
No, but
Because I've got a very, very, very vague memory of Land coming into the studio and being like, I'm
Well-
a bus.
Wow.
Yeah, right? Interesting. Now, the context to that is still quite confusing for me to understand. I think...
Yeah, they're talking about cricket, but they're someone
the-
from the Maccabees and Radio 1, and I'm just being very careful in case this clip gets played on another podcast. Also, there was a brief second there where I was really worried that this was like someone had ratted me out to the guy from the Editors going, hey, someone saw you fall over, you mate. Hey. Shh, no one tell.
This was on Tailenders podcast, which is a cricket podcast, but the guitarist from the Maccabees and Greg James off of Radio 1 are on it.
And look, lads, I'll be telling you right now,
Yeah.
it's a crick and cracket podcast. It's where I go myself for my news.
It's a great time. I think Felix had mentioned he got hit by a bus or had a run-in with a bus as a child, got injected because of that. It has since been scared of needles and buses, and so someone sent in the clip of us on Cinema Swirl.
Of us needling them about the bus incident.
exactly.
I see.
And so now we're on like a proper BBC podcast, mate. We've hit the cricket market.
Well, move over, Melvin in the morning. Looks like Kevin and Sam are back on BBC prime time, baby.
So this was a complete surprise. No one told us this was going to happen. Someone just heard this on Tailenders and said, what's going on? Why is Cinema Swirl on this? So it's very exciting. And I've realised that the key to getting on the BBC is to mention minor run-ins with indie musicians.
I should bring up again, I don't know if it's just indie, but I'll bring
Yeah.
up again that my brother did accidentally kick Bono in the back while running down some stairs once. Do you want to put that on the world service or anything like that? It'll work.
We'll see. I once saw Barry from the Future Heads drop a Calippo on Roker Beach. So, you know.
Wow.
Yeah, I witnessed Alan from the Rakes actually stepping on a rake, Sideshow Bob style. And that was in Strasbourg. So
I saw Phil Jupitus accidentally break a glass once, but like people just went way. What can I say?
we need to put these things out there in the world in the hope that maybe...
Can we retool this podcast so it's more like instead of Cinema Swirl, it's like minor run-ins with celebrities? Still the same artwork, music, all that jazz, I'm sure.
Also, to clear this up for Tailenders, should they be listening, and at this point, who knows, it was Orlando, the singer from the Maccabees, and it was in Nottingham on the same night the Maccabees were due to play Rock City. So, there you go.
That's different from me, where I accidentally saw someone called Nottingham got run over in Orlando. It's like Disney World. That's different.
A different story.
It's a different story.
I wanted to bring that to your attention because that it was very unusual to see that happen, but it was a lot of fun. Now, I had hoped that maybe that would bring people to Cinema Swirl, but what happened was I told my dad about this, and now he's really into Tailenders. He just listens to all of that.
Well, isn't that good? Isn't it well for some?
We're actually giving them listeners. We're actually helping them out. So
Wait, if your dad stops listening to this podcast as a result of that, like that's
he moves over to Tailenders.
yeah, we're gonna have to lure him back. Like this is ridiculous.
So thank you for all your questions, queries, comments. Ashley wrote in to say, are you going to try and get on other podcasts after the recent plug on Tailenders? And Ashley, yes, we are.
Yeah.
That's part of the grand plan. That's part of the long con to get on the air.
And that's what we're about to. We're about to get all the tools to do this because we're about to watch an elite group of con artists get on the air of their favorite podcast.
Yes.
Sam, let's go do a Cinema Swirl. And we're back.
Score goals, playing football. I'm kicking toward the net. Score goals playing for England. Our players are the best.
I agree, that's good, Sam, because I only found out from watching the movie there now that apparently Sweet Home Alabama, unsurprisingly a song which sings the graces and good fortune of Alabama, you know, the state that's got the red X. And surprisingly, it's got quite a lengthy controversy section on Wikipedia. So I like your version there because it's about football, which is for everyone.
Well, I can change it to another song from the film and be like, how can I score for England?
Yeah, if you're David Beckham, because you'd probably whiff the big goal kick like he infamously did in the World Cup.
Old golden balls up to its old tricks, blasting it over the wall of the defensive lineup of the opposition.
You know what, Dave? You got off light on both selective, I'm quite honest. You got off light. Very light. You were due a dust-up and you didn't get it.
Well, Con Air, Kevin.
Con Air then, Sam. Now, what was great about watching this movie for the first time in forever was that the star-studdedness became very apparent just as the names started flashing on screen. So the first 4 minutes of this was quite like kind of, you know, when you see the prizes on an old game show. There was a lot of oohs and ahs and Steve Buscemi, definitely the equivalent of a midweek break in a lovely Riley hotel or something like that.
You'd be glad to get Steve Buscemi in a bonus round.
Oh, absolutely. And the movie is kind of a love letter to the Army Rangers, who, if you remember from Lord of the Rings, never leave a man behind. And they're also secretly the king of men.
So these are not the Power Rangers. These are the Armor Rangers.
No Power Rangers. No.
So our boy Nick Cage, he's done with the army. He's finished his Army Ranger duties. So he's now clocking off, going back to civilization, I think.
Back to Alabama, is sweet home where he doth lay his head. And I have struggled in any of the many Nick Cage movies we've done so far this year on Cinema Swirl to call him anything other than Nick Cage.
Oh, yeah.
But the fact that his character's name is Cameron Poe is a real... It's a good, silly name, it is.
Yeah.
And there's lots of good, silly names in this movie.
Plenty of them. So Cameron Poe, he's meeting up with his girlfriend Trisha Poe. No, his wife. He's meeting up with his wife.
No, she's actually his hummingbird. That's different.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I forgot how things work in the Army Rangers.
I know, it's much different. Look, it's what you were thinking, but with a lot more nectar. That's really it.
His nectarous wife, Trisha.
She's turgid.
She's working in a bar. And he comes to meet her. How Do I Live Without You is playing.
Well, I suspect she'll have to find out. Am I right, Sam? Am I right? Yeah, they get some regular hound dog hassle from these punks who are riling up the Army Rangers. And he's like, pussies like you's why we lost Vietnam. Like, didn't you see the opening package? Rangers lead the way.
Yeah, mate. Go. Army Rangers. But so this bloke, he says, I'd take a beating half my life to get a piece of that woman. Mate, the only beating you'll be doing is beating off, all right? Because they're not having any of that, thank you very much. But they keep aggravating Nick Cage. He's just trying to have a nice time with his pregnant wife at a bar.
They make a point that he's avoiding confrontation, that he's not a violent man.
But he's
an
Army
Ranger. He leads the way, okay? He doesn't lead the way in fights.
There is some backstory of being you used to be a menace, but now the army's made you a good boy. And nothing really comes of that.
They put manners on him, Sam. That's what they did. They put manners
on him. But that doesn't help him when he gets into a bloody bar fight in the pouring rain outside as these jerks try and confront him and beat him up.
Oh, God, this was well scary because you know yourself, Sam, you're in this situation and someone's causing hassle and you think, I'll just remove myself from this situation. I don't want any hassle. I don't want any fight. Yeah. And you go outside and sure, Jesus, they all showed up. And did you see the big flame of fire went up? And God, they were magic as well. And you're going out trying to avoid the flipping fight. And there they are now, casting this, that and the other.
Having a bar fight with a bunch of magicians by the looks of things. You don't want any pyro going off.
Right, come on. This was meant to be man to man, not man to mana, all right? This is out of sorts.
I mean, this fight scene between Cameron Poe and these ruffians is kind of hilarious. It's so video gamey,
isn't it?
One of them pulls a knife and says, "Take this, you son of a bitch." And then we get a slow motion shot of him getting an uppercut to the face. Throughout this fight scene, there are peppered in the sort of sound effects that I would expect from, like, Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares, things like that. You get that metallic kind of shing kind of noise when the knife comes out, and it's stuff like that.
Also, like Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares, there are many instances of like the lines being very clumsily ADR'd. like you're watching a movie that's been poorly dubbed over or something, where they're like, "How about some of this?" And there's a very we saw this with Face Off as well, where I think the late 90s, whether they realised it or not, these movies were like, "Hey, let's set the tone of pretty much every action game that's going to come out for the next 20 goddamn years."
Yep. So Nick Cage ends up accidentally murdering one of these lads. They all run away apart from the one that he's murdered. And his response to this, which I love of Nick Cage's character, is to just stand there in the rain, like looking like a sort of child who's got in trouble, and just go, "Treasure!" and just call for his wife because he doesn't know what to do. It's like, "Treasure, I murdered a man!" And the man's dead, and now he's in bloody trouble.
Yeah, there's a big twist in this movie which you don't see coming at the start, where there's consequences for killing someone. And Jesus, I wasn't expecting that at all. It caught me, whoa, whammo.
I mean, for an action film, it does drag us back to reality. Although I say reality, in court, the judge says something about, like, you're not subject to the same laws.
You're a special deadly weapon, so we've got special red laws in a special binder for you, so we have.
So you're going away for the big stretch, because you're a right bloody nasty piece of work, mate. You should have just got beaten up.
The defence lawyer in this, right? The defence lawyer's opening case should have literally been, come on, what? They were, and I quote, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, "regular old hound dogs." Now, that seems like a nefarious customer if there ever was one, you know? He can't help he's built to kill.
The rebuttal to that would be like, "Ain't nothing but a hound dog." So, in his defence. So the title, Con Air, just kind of... we've seen this in something else. It might have been Face Off.
I'm pretty sure it was.
Blast on and go. It just blasts onto the screen. Con Air. Looks cool as fuck. Love it. Efficient title sequence there. Just Con Air. Come on.
Now, can I tell you something about this movie? What it does, and it really, really made me kind of quite wistful for, is it really puts over strong how great prison seems to be. Because...
mate, yeah.
Yeah, where he's here now for this 10 stretch, right? He's doing yoga. He's playing board games with his cellmate. He's writing letters. He's getting nice snacks. He's making friends. This is pretty much how I've been spending my lockdown. Yeah. This is very, very good.
He's got Duolingo on the go. He's learning Spanish. He's having an absolutely fabulous time.
Later on, where he's doing his Duolingo learning Spanish and he's prison jacked and he's upside down doing super push-ups, that's how I thought I'd be spending my lockdown. But
right.
There was a lot more snacks and games.
Yours is more of the pink coconut things that he's giving out. Just having some of them,
not the skills and abilities thing.
When do you want to talk about Nick Cage's accent in this? The kind of southern drawl that he does.
Well, kind of, it crops up here prominently when he, during his upgrades here in the prison, he unlocks the Daughter Letters game mechanic, and you get these nice long scenes of him going, "Dear Casey, I sell propane and propane accessories." You know, he's got this southern drawl that is very obviously Nick Cage, and it's kind of a little bit like his Raising Arizona voice, except it's many years later and then somehow worse, which I don't understand. It's like, no, not like that, not good. Reel it in a bit.
Look, the thing I like from Nick Cage, and I've realised I like, is that sudden burst of emotion, but this drawl is so monotone when he's talking about most things, apart from...
Yeah, I'm going home.
I'm going home, sir.
Yeah.
To his mate Baby O, who... We don't know what Baby O did, but he's also in prison with Nick Cage. They've become fast friends.
Do you know what, Sam? He's all right by me, because pretty much all the people who Nick Cage trusts, are solid blokes.
Yeah, and Baby O's diabetic, so I think he's fine. I think that's what we get.
A baddie wouldn't... I mean, you name me one baddie who happens to have diabetes. I don't think it's ever happened.
Diabetic baddie.
It's Hollywood's last taboo, Sam, is what it is.
If Bond runs out of ideas, you could just have a villain whose gimmick is I've got diabetes and it's really rubbish. But I'm angry about it.
I mean, that could get into if the new Bond is we're going to be doing a reverse swirl is anything like I think it will be be immersed in the absolute mire of the mundane reality of modern living. So it'll be like, Mr. Bond, I have nothing to lose. I've recently discovered I'm lactose intolerant. I can no longer enjoy my favourite things, and quite frankly, neither shall you. Like living, and then there's quips. And loads of dry martinis shaken, not stirred.
You've basically got it. So Cameron Poe, he's coming to the end of his stretch. He's due for parole. He's on his way out. But in order to get out of being in prison, he's got to transfer to a different prison to then walk out of that prison door, right?
Look, like they classically, it was said in The Wire by Avon Barksdale, you only do 2 days when you go into the joint. The day you come in and the day when you're going out and they put you on a plane to go to the other place. There's a bit of a layover, but then you get out. That's the second day is quite a hectic day. A lot of travel, yes.
Yes. His mate's coming with him on the plane. Baby O's coming with him, but not to be released. He's just being transferred to a different prison.
I like the big plane, which is called the Jailbird. That was very good.
Perfect
like
name
that.
for it there.
The only issue was that when they had the little speech about, this is the Jailbird, it's one of the most incredibly large planes that has ever been concocted by U.S. Marine Corps. It really should have been given by Tommy Lee Jones. I feel that was money on the table. Them not doing that. 1 second, I just need to put down a little kitchen towel, spill some water.
Sure, no problem.
Enter the suit and tie bullshit piece of crap of this movie, John Cusack, aka Vince Larkin about in his fucking suit and tie, mate. What's he doing? Pushing pencils, yeah?
Is this a 90s thing where suits were just like big? Because I feel like it looks like he's wearing his dad's suit. It's a little too baggy on him.
I think the late 90s were a golden era for bad big suits. Before suits got shiny, they got big, I think it was like when David Byrne and Talking Heads parodied big suits. It felt like the suit industry kind of bit back a little bit, going, we'll show you some fucking big suits.
You want to see some big suits?
But before that was ultimately their undoing and had to go back to very small, shiny suits instead in the early noughties.
Have you watched The Last Dance about Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls in the 90s?
I'm always slinging ball, Sam, but the one ball that I'm slinging, it's called a football.
Okay,
not a
sure.
basket brackets handball, so I have not seen that.
But, I mean, Michael Jordan wears some massive suits in that. They're just...
Oh, does he?
Huge. He's a big bloke, but his suits are just like, I love it. I love a big suit, and John Cusack is wearing a slightly too big suit here.
I'm not going to lie, Sam, you've not really sold me on the series with that.
It's Michael Jordan, he's got a big suit. That's all you need. No, it is brilliant. It is a very good documentary.
I'm sure.
So there's a bunch of criminals getting piled onto a plane, but as well as that, there is a DEA undercover operation going on.
We get introduced to Colm Meaney, who is the DEA guy and also a real piece of fucking work.
He is being a meanie because he's so grumpy, and he has a go at John Cusack for talking with big words and knowing things, really. Get a load of you, dictionary boy. Well, actually, more like thesaurus boy. These two are like chalk and cheese. They don't mix, and you shouldn't eat the chalk.
No, absolutely not. Don't eat Colm Meaney, but if you must eat anyone, eat John Cusack. He's softest.
Don't draw with cheese, neither. No.
Oh, God, it was like nails on a cheese board, Sam. It was absolutely awful.
So
I like when all the convicts are showing up that they get entrance music. It's like, here's some real pieces of fucking work. It's like, here comes the bus with Billy Bedlam and Diamond Dog.
This is fucking Suicide Squad. This is the same thing happening.
Don't spray this movie with the effluent of that shit. No way. This is so much better.
Okay, list of prisoners on board. We've got Billy Bedlam, a mass murderer. Diamond Dog,
who they do a very bad job of like making me anything other than sympathetic. Like, he's a black activist, and when his goals weren't met, he was put in prison where he wrote his his piece through a diamond's eye. I'm like, oh, okay,
yeah.
And then it's like they want Denzel to play him in the Hollywood movie because Hollywood, those bastards.
Because it's the 90s, and we're making it's meta, mate. It's meta. All right,
very meta, very meta.
Cyrus the Virus, played by John Malkovich, who brags that he's killed more men than cancer. Jeez Louise. He's referred to as a poster child for the criminally insane.
Yes, because he's a boffin as well as being a murderer, which is like, all right, if you're a murderer or whatever, but if you're a big fucking know-all as well, you know, that really gets me going now.
I've got time for those silly murderers, but those clever ones, not having it.
Some more celebrity prisoners. Dave the Minefield Chappelle.
Yeah, Dave Chappelle's in this, which I didn't know. That's a nice
he apparently improv'd most of his lines about this.
Okay.
That's pretty much all I'll say on Dave Chappelle.
And also Cameron Poe, Nick Cage, is coming on, but John Cusack's like, who's this guy? He's a fucking nobody jerk off. Don't care about this guy. He's not going to be significant at all to this.
You should pay attention to anyone who resembles our Lord Jesus Christ, which he does very heavily here now. And I'm saying the same way that if your grilled cheese sandwich resembles Christ, maybe take a second thought before the second or third bite. Yeah, sure. But they didn't judge this book by its very holy looking cover, because he's got the long flowing mane. He's had a bit of an agony in the garden now.
Yeah.
He's a little bit, he has that look about him. He's very, very Christ-like in this movie.
He is. I think that's the role Nick Cage might have been born to play.
He may have been.
Our Lord and Saviour Jesus Christ. The main guard on the plane does a big speech where he's like kind of racist and horrible and talks about testicles being his personal property if you do bad things.
We got us some genuine celebrities on board here.
Yeah.
I like as well when they're bringing them all on board that they're getting over the fact that there's so many prisoners on here that they need loads of extra things. So you get to see a big, thick, heavy sheet of handcuffs. Like if handcuffs were an item in Minecraft, they come in this big block that you could like chip away
Take
at.
yourself off the handcuff.
Yeah.
So we don't feel bad about him when he gets beaten up. I think maybe killed later. I can't remember.
But this plane is very strict, Sam. Like, very strict. Like, no phones or anything. Like,
No misbehaving. Come on, guys, sit down. Don't cause a ruckus. We've got Danny Trejo as Johnny 23, a rapist who commemorates his crimes by tattooing himself. Fucking hell. These are like almost comically upsettingly bad criminals, right? That's the whole thing we've got here. It's just these are all bad guys, some bad dudes.
And Danny Trejo's Animal Crossing village, you can visit that now, I believe, online.
Is he playing Animal Crossing? Is that real?
Yeah.
That's nice.
I'm happier that Danny Trejo's doing it and not Johnny 23, because he's a character who's as genuinely upsetting as he is surprisingly short.
Yes. And one of John Malkovich's, Cyrus, his character traits is that he hates rapists. So, a bit of rough with the smooth. He is a murderer, but he doesn't like those bloody rapists. So,
I mean, at least he is a mass murdering psychopath whose values are aligned with the viewing audiences, He's
got a bit of a moral compass, but there were some issues with the magnets involved, is what I would say.
There's all sorts going on here, Sam, because Cyrus is fiddling around, Diamond Dog's fiddling around, Pinball's fiddling around. They're all fiddling and diddling back there. Well, tonight they'll be escaping the plane cell block while opting to forgo the jailhouse rock, because tonight's going to be a broken up jail, a jailbreak as it's also known.
Yes, in the sky. Jailbreak in the sky, guys. This is revolutionary, this type of thing.
I love that 1990s alarm.
Yeah. So the way this works is that Dave Chappelle, he's got like lighter fluid and a match swallowed in his stomach that he manages to regurgitate and set a man on fire in order to cause a distraction. Everyone's got pins and they're unlocking things and they're running around and it's chaos, it's bedlam. It's not Billy Bedlam, but he's there as well. And they're out. The prisoners are out. It's gone crazy.
Cyrus has got a gun.
Yeah.
Cyrus also has the title of the movie, which is very powerful to reveal at this point. Also, Con Air is a long-established nickname for like these types of planes anyway. So yeah, there you go. I'm not sure if aircon may have even preceded air conditioning as a thing.
Oh, okay. So because he breaks into the cockpit, he's in control. He's like, "I'll bloody kill you if you don't fly where we want to fly." And he says, "Welcome to Con Air." I was thinking, does he think that it's a pun? Does John Malkovich think it's a pun? Does his character think it's a pun? Is it a pun?
Is it one of those things where it's all right that certain very high-profile stand-up comedians are allowed to steal jokes of other people because there's like a phrase where it's like a fugue state or something like that, where like, I've got a PR company, so I'm allowed to steal jokes, and that's why it happened to be that I wrote a very similar joke to that person long after they originally wrote it. Might be one of those situations, Sam.
Where is the origin of Con Air? Maybe it was never a pun. There was no pun intended. And the pun has been retroactive.
No pun intended, yeah. I'll tell you what, though, Sam, it's a moot point because the inmates are running the asylum and the asylum happens to be flying in the sky. And could you imagine that? Bloody buildings flying. Jesus.
I mean, this is kind of what I predicted the film would be about, really, is that there is a plane full of prisoners and it all goes wrong. And so far, 1 for 1 here. I'm nailing it in terms of the plot. I didn't have any more predictions aside from that, but that is basically the plot of the movie.
I would have made a prediction where they're all like, let's get the peanuts, hey! And then, there's a big sack where they cut it open, they're like filling their boots, like, way! And then there's a scene where they're all a bit too full. The DEA agent decides now's the time to reveal himself, when the odds are completely stacked against him.
Yeah.
And he dives to the dirtiest fucking bass. It's so... The music in this thing is so fucking brilliant.
It's brilliant. It's like rubbish, but like good rubbish.
It's fucking great. It has that kind of like Sega Mega Drive butt rock title music.
Yes. Now, the prisoner's plan here, I just want to check. The plan is to just go to a non-extradition country and then be fine, and presumably there'll be sexy girls and tasty drinks. It just seems a little bit short-sighted, this plan, to just go somewhere where you can't be extradited and then live.
All right, you've had a drink with a little umbrella in it before, right?
I have, yeah. Oh, it's great.
All right, I just figured like that would be self-explanatory in itself.
Okay,
like, what's the issue here?
I'm sorry. Okay, so Mr. Undercover, he's in trouble here. He's got killed. Nick's tried to diffuse that situation, but it doesn't happen, and he just does like a little head turn, like, oh no, I fucked it. His quiet demeanour is not very cagey.
This is the least Nick Cage I think that we've seen, and given that he's playing obviously not just himself because he has to do at least a facsimile of a bit of a voice, and he's meant to be the level-headed cool customer, and it's not like you expect where he's a level-headed cool customer and then all of a sudden it's like, you've done it now, and he becomes this total badass. It's not. He is this like saintly, gracious, good guy throughout the whole piece.
Yeah, I mean, he also prevented Johnny the rapist man from being a rapist to the only female guard on board, who had also bonded with Cameron Poe
because he got that kid. You did it for her,
my daughter. What's
fucking daughter, fucking daughter,
my daughter.
My daughter. I love you, my daughter.
So he's throughout this whole film, he's trying to protect his mate Baby O, who needs insulin, and the female guard, whose name is I think only revealed at the end, or not revealed very much. Sally.
Why, pray tell, is he trying so hard to get Baby O his insulin? Because the Army Rangers never leave a man behind.
Never leave a man behind.
Unless they tried to take the ring from the little one. I tried to take it from Frodo, and then you're like, right, you're fucking done, yeah? You're done. I'm so mad at you, I'm going to bury you at a waterfall, yeah? Off you pop. Way! And you don't even get to keep your commemorative photo we took when you go over the edge. That's mine now.
So, Kevin, in the aftermath of this stuff where the DEA man tries to get control of the situation, people get shot, people get popped, it's all chaos, and they realise that when and the plan is still to land
Carson City, baby,
on board some new prisoners and swap some old ones, but Dave Chappelle is wandering around trying to find the prisoners who need to be swapped, and they're all dead. So they need some new people to swap in. And one of Dave Chappelle's lines is that, we're down 3 prisoners and they're all dead. Or as we say in Ebonics, we be fucked. Which, I mean, come on, that's pretty good going. I like that.
I will tentatively say good job, Dave Chappelle.
Yeah. So Baby O volunteers to swap.
That wasn't a laugh, that was an affirmative noise.
I can confirm that I have registered that happened. So Baby O volunteers to be swapped along with Nick Cage, but the problem is the prisoners they're expecting are white, so he's not allowed to do it because they're going to be like, oh, that's not a white bloke. So they've got Nick, another old white man, and they need one more. Cyrus suggests the pilot of the plane, they're going to send him out as a fake prisoner to trick him, but they're gagging all these fake prisoners so they don't squeal.
Because they claim to them when they're taking them off that they're spitters and shitters, so they had to gag them and such.
But that ruins Nick's plan. His plan was to squeal. So he's like, No, I want to stay on board this. I've changed my mind. I want to stay on board the plane.
I will find a way to intravenously inject that insulin into you, baby. Oh.
The reason why I want to stay is I'm excited for a naked party freak and a little umbrella trick. Because it's so unconvincing that he's going to be the sort of guy who wants that life.
I'm sorry, I lied. The only little umbrella I want is the one held by my daughter when we go walking and it happens to be raining.
Oh, that's cute. He does have a strategy here. What he does is he bundles a wire that he found on the DEA agent, like a recorder, onto one of the guards who's being pushed off as a fake criminal, right? This sounds more complicated than it is, because it is very simple, but he's just put this recorder on.
He throws an item that makes a guard go, huh?
Yeah.
And that's what happens.
Yes, that is exactly what happens. He's leaving little breadcrumbs to try and be like, hey, something's up here, guys. He's trying to get the plane staying on the ground so they can all get off and live their lives.
Something's up in Cyrus's prison cell as well, which is really crumbly and made of kind of dried feta or some stuff. It's really, it's horrible. So they're landing the plane on Tatooine. We get fun new DLC characters, such as the Crazy Pilot and Sally Can't Dance, which is firmly filed under the good for 1997 representation category.
Yeah, we get Tom Friendly from Lost is the pilot of the plane. There were
that's
criminal
who that
pilots.
is
Yes,
it?
but he's called Swamp Thing here. Kevin, it's absolutely absurd that this plan is working, by the way. They managed to disguise the whole trade-off thing because there's a sandstorm.
There's a Daruga, a sandstorm.
But it's so convenient that they've got a prisoner in the Swamp Thing who can fly a plane. Was that planned?
It is planned, because in the cell...
But how do they know that
They found all the plans in the cell. There was loads of plans. They were planning for all sorts of things. And there's a bit with like, quick, decipher Cyrus's cipher. And they have to quickly do that. And then there's a bomb, which blows all up before we can really figure out the extent to which he has planned things. But it seems to be that the transfer was planned, and that later on down the line having another plane for him, that is also part of the plan.
Kevin, that bomb, that rigged booby trap bomb in the cell that John Cusack says, don't touch anything else, and his mates just open it anyway and get kaboomed. It was made from glow sticks in a biscuit tin, from what I could tell.
Incredible. That's that anarchist cookbook. You can rustle together something with barely anything in the store cupboard, it seems. Very, very good.
Wonderful.
I mean, I was trying at this point to figure out what in God's name John Cusack's actual job is, because he spends the vast majority of this movie on a phone desperately disagreeing with someone in various states of perspiration. He's meant to be working for Marshall Transfer Services. Like at the start, it's like, get a load of this wise guy in his sandals. He's in charge of some admin bogus bullshit. But he's here in a prison inspecting cells. Later on, he's fucking action man. I don't know what the fuck his job description is.
Just kind of generic audience surrogate investigative figure, right? He's
Talk
just
to your shop steward, Larkin, is all I'm saying, because you should be getting remunerated for a lot of this extra work. When that bomb goes off in the cell, Sam, please, if I ever happen to be in your vicinity and I gurn right before I die in a ball of glory and fire, don't tell anyone that I go, and then oh my God, they made a stupid face and then they died. I mean, I wouldn't show up to that funeral, honestly. I'd be too embarrassed for him. Be mortified.
So, bomb's gone off, but Dave Chappelle has been sent off the plane to go and hide a little gizmo that's taken from the plane. That is the transponder that tracks the plane. He hides it on like a tourist plane, but he gets stuck at the airfield flirting with a nice lady. While that's all kind of going off, there's one of these lads is like proper Hannibal Lectered up. He's being wheeled towards the plane now, and it's Garland Green.
What a fucking Marvel name that is.
Yeah,
Garland Green with Betty Brant and J. Jonah Jameson. I can't recall if Mr. Buscemi has found his way onto the podcast before.
He has in Big Lebowski. But I don't think anything else. But look, as a creepy serial killer that even the baddest prisoners are afraid of, I think Steve Buscemi is perfectly cast. He's
expertly cast. It's almost too easy for him. Like when you see him in this performance, it's like he's looking at you going, can you fucking believe this? I'm literally doing nothing. And look how comfy my costume is as well. This is fucking great. What a day at the office for Steve.
So we've got all of our prisoners loaded onto the plane. The hidden wire that Nick put on one of the cops has been been discovered, but it all keeps going. But the cops are onto them, so they're kind of it's all going off here. The cops are coming after him. Dave Chappelle's like, oh no, I got left behind. There's
all this arguing going on though, because you got the DEA and the mayor on their ass, and you got the marshals. We get phrases like, this situation needs to get unfucked right now, which is very good.
Yes.
And also a really funny phrase that I desperately want to know. We can put this alongside Busman's Holiday, but when Colin Meaney goes, you got a real Keystone Cop organization going on here. You know that Larkin? I'm like, Keystone Cops? What is that? Please tell me more.
I have no idea. But I love the fact that Cusack has to reveal, to the men in charge that prisoners have taken over the prison plane. And I was reminded of that Brass Eye thing of like, this is the one thing that we didn't want to happen. Like, it's literally just been completely taken over.
Here we go.
Okay.
The Keystone Cops, often spelled Keystone Cops with a K, like they're Kremlins, are fictional, humorously incompetent policemen featured in silent slapstick between 1912 and 17.
But there we go.
There you go.
So the plane manages to make it into the sky. Dave Chappelle's kind of running alongside the plane. We see a shot of him from the window looking out like, and swearing at the thing and then doing like a pratfall and falling over. It's all funny. Like he's got left behind.
It's hilarious.
I later found out that he died. So but you wouldn't tell that from like the fact that he just goes, oh, I've fallen over. But he gets run over by the plane and caught up in the landing gear or something. I don't know what happens there.
He gets mangled and tangled is what happens
here. He gets
here.
mangled and tangled.
And Cameron's got to pick his battles now. They're on the plane. It's up in the air. His wife and child have been told, Mrs. Poe, your husband is in Con Air. And they're like, they're really upset about that. But he has to pick his battles now. So Poe takes a mo to sow some aggro with Diamond Doe. He's kind of like, why you trust John Malkovich? Have you seen Being John Malkovich? What's going on in that guy's head, So
he is trying to like sow some discontent in order to. He's just trying to find any way to save the day and get the plane back under control, right?
I love when at this time the cops as well are like they have figured out that he's an ally essentially, and then you've got Larkin desperately trying to be like, come on, he's obviously on our side. Look at the conditions of his arrest. He fought a guy in a bar fight and he look, anyone could murder anyone could murder. Anyone could do a murder. That we've all been there, right?
Yeah.
Anyone has.
Yeah.
I mean,
we've all could be a murderer.
Look, we all have. You have. You have you?
Have we all murdered? We're all murderers here. But despite the fact that like this guy could be an ally, there's still fierce debate between him and Cole Meaney saying like, no, let's just fucking shoot it down and kill them all. It's gonna be fine.
He wants to load up the fucking Shellicopter, go there and give him a new one, like both barrels. Boom.
So they sneak down into the landing gear. Cameron's sent down into the landing gear to fix it because it's been left down the whole time, and we see that Dave Chappelle's corpse is caught in the landing gear. I say Dave Chappelle's corpse, I mean one of the worst like weird fake like prop corpses I've ever seen in a film. I don't know why they couldn't have like Dave Chappelle lying there for a bit and then just use the dummy when they throw it out of the thing. But obviously he'd gone for lunch at that point.
That was done at that point, So we got a fabulous scene of someone like, I can't believe I got bird shit on my car. Can you believe it? Me, a retired Air Force general, no doubt. And then as a body fall set to Theme from a Summer Place, which is probably the silliest moment in the movie.
Oh, it's probably stupid.
This movie kind of, we watch a lot of these action movies, and I think we kind of forget that in the late 90s, a lot of action movies decided to just be full on tongue in cheek, like, here's a really funny bit. I don't think that happened as often in Arnie movies. Like, he kind of made inexplicable funny moments.
Yeah.
But a lot of these ones that we've watched recently, it feels like they're like, let's pull the fucking comedy lever as hard as possible.
This is big daft. And so the reason why that corpse gets pushed out of the plane is it kind of get it out of the way. But also, Nick's written a little message on it, right? He said like, we're going to this airport. We're not going where we say we're on the transponder. But you got to remember, Kevin, this was back in the 90s. This was before WhatsApp. If you wanted to send a message to John Cusack, you had to write it on a corpse.
And the only reason he was able to do that is because he's gotten in prison so proficient at letter writing that he can whip up a letter on any old. You give him anything, he'll have a letter for you in 10 seconds. Dead body, doesn't matter, he's got his canvas.
The handwriting on that vest was fabulous. He's had a lot of practice. Yeah,
I would have made a dog's dinner of that, is what would have happened.
Billy Bedlam is suspicious of Cameron Poe. He's like, you said you were going to go away for a long time, but I don't know I didn't see you in this block. And then we get Steve Buscemi as serial killer Garland Green doing some kind of armchair psychoanalysis, which is all of his dialogue is just like, his mum didn't hold him enough.
It's deep, though. It's deep, Sam. Listen to this, right? Listen to this from the so-called sociopath, okay?
Yeah.
Maybe you're all the mad ones, huh? How about that?
It is literally like that.
Pretty much that.
Yeah.
He has got the fucking treatise of a 12-year-old who's been left in the back of a classroom and a slightly too big pencil case on which to jot his thoughts.
Yes.
This man's got some deep shit crawling in his veins, if you know what I'm saying, like.
So, John Cusack, he's chatting to Cameron Poe's wife and daughter, trying to figure out why would he stay on that plane?
Why is he such a hero? Like, couldn't they even just leave one man behind? Like, I mean, the Rangers are what, I'm guessing second or third in? Is that usually it?
But during this meeting, it's like, why? What's your husband's deal? He gets a call to say, John Cusack, mate, there's a message for you here. On a corpse, yes, it is on a corpse, but it is for you. Do you want me to read it? And so he now learns that they're going to this airport, not going where the transponder is saying. He relays this information to Cole Meany.
Shut up!
And Cole Meany's like, no, it's nothing. He still follows the fucking tourist plane. He doesn't listen to the corpse. Listen to the corpse.
Listen to the corpse, right?
Ah.
Listen to your corpses. That's a very important takeaway from here, you know? So, Poe has a fist fight with Billy Bedlam, and it's quite similar to a fist fight we've seen before in the previous episode, Commando, in that it's taking place in a steamy gasworks.
Yes.
And it also ends with someone being stabbed through the chest by a gas.
Yeah.
But instead of saying, let off some steam, we get, why couldn't you just put the bunny in the box?
In the box. Yeah. So the reason why that fight happens is Billy Bedlam discovers Cameron's personal stuff, including the bunny and the letter saying, I'm going to see my daddy. I'm on parole. I'm good. Yeah.
Sam, as a taller gentleman now, a cramped fight like that, it literally sounds like a nightmare.
Your back, it would do your back in, just having to fight with someone while hunched over. I don't like that.
You know, you'd be collecting gas, you'd swing and fart at the same time. Jesus.
When I'm fighting, which often happens, I want to maintain good posture.
Exactly.
And I don't think that's possible.
Well, that's not me. I'm dirty. When I'm fighting, I'm farting. That's me, right? Boom, 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 boom. Scatter grenades, yeah?
That's your secret weapon. Yeah, that's how you get. But yeah, the whole, put the bunny back in the box, it's delivered incredibly, badly.
Please, I'm begging you to put the bunny in the box.
So the DEA, they catch up to the plane that's got the tracker in, and obviously it's the wrong plane, and there's an old lady like, oh, hi, what's going on?
God damn it!
Buddy, what are we doing? John Cusack told you.
John's like, I already told you! And he's had to drive very fast indeed now in a souped-up motor to get there.
The motor belonging to Mr. Grumpy DEA with the license plate as Kicker, because it's spelt with 2 Z's.
Hey, you ask me no questions, I'll tell you no lies.
The shots of John Cusack driving in a fast car through the desert are very funny, very silly. Just properly what you expect. And
I like that they cut to him changing gear so the audience could be like, it was good, wasn't it? Yeah, it was good, smooth gear change there now, for the drivers in the audience.
Yes.
I thought I was coming here just getting some souped up planes and jets. I didn't know there'd be motors at the dinner table.
Yeah, whoa, yeah, fast cars, mate.
This is like when you got a pizza and someone's brought along some burgers on the side for dipping.
Do you remember, was it Pizza Hut who did the pizza with the little burgers in it around the side?
Paddy McGuinness, he pitched that with a straight face, let me tell you.
I love a burger. I love a pizza. No likey, no lighty. Put them together. Come on.
That was after I pitched them. I fell into a burning ring of burgers. And they refuse this.
Steve Buscemi notices that Billy Bedlam is probably dead down there.
He's more like Dilly Deadlam, am I right?
He talks about how, for some people like him, killing people is exciting. And Poe's like, hey man, you're insane. And he's like, what if the real insane people are the ones working in an office and retiring So it's real like we live in a society type shit here coming from Steve Buscemi.
Wake up, sheeple.
One of the most gruesome things that he says in his kind of like laissez-faire style, Steve Buscemi here, is that one girl I drove through 3 states wearing her head as a hat. Now that's gruesome. That, drives home the fact that he's a fucking creepy serial killer.
Yeah, but you had to have a good think about that as well, right?
But I don't know the ergonomics of how you do it. How would you wear a head as a hat?
Now, I had some friends back in the day who used to be able to wear a shoe as a hat. And you would have said, no. And I'm talking like a cloth shoe as well, like a Converse, you could style it. And I would have thought, no way. But I was thinking there, even with that knowledge in my head, that shoes can become hats. I'm like, but heads becoming hats?
I didn't think it was possible. And I was like, come on, mate. Maybe he's just bragging and pretending. Like, I put a head on my head as a hat.
You know what it is? It's probably much like James Bond with his little pate parcel in the last episode, isn't it? Where he's making it like it's no big deal, but he did wear it as a hat, Sam. What you didn't know was the day he spent slowly crafting.
That would take time to make a hat out of a head.
Yeah. I've done dissections. You got to go layer by layer of that epidermal, You got to go layer by layer.
So Cusack has made it to the airfield where they're going to be landing.
The plane graveyard.
The plane graveyard.
This was such an evil plane graveyard. I thought like little planes are going to be like, be prepared, shit like that.
So the prison plane is landing just as a little baby plane is landing the other way. What a calamity.
Yeah, this doesn't go well. This starts off as a Windows 95 flight simulator crash landing. It ends up turning into a Grand Theft Auto 5 crash landing. The second one with a lot more skids.
I love the sequence of the plane kind of taxiing around, knocking things over, narrowly avoiding colliding with a big tanker of propane.
Ooh.
And then obviously Cameron Pope, propane, I like that. I can't do the accent, but neither can Nick Cage. That reassures me in a way.
Now that the plane has landed, it is time for me to assume my final form, which is him taking off that dusty old top, and he's got a smooth tank underneath.
That jeans and a vest, that kind of Dean Ambrose look.
Yeah, he can roll them tanks into my square any day, if you ask me, right?
He's got his shirt off. It's vest time. Now, there's supposed to be a transfer plane for these criminals, but it's not there. There's a barely introduced, like, drug lords type guy who's supposed to be responsible for sorting this out.
He's like an informant, high-level guy, something or other, yeah.
So Nick's on his way to try and find some insulin, I think.
No, they've got the insulin now. They need to find an injectable
needle
for it.
Right?
And
yeah.
We got cops en route with army.
It's all happening, but they can see them in the distance. But they're like, that'll take a good 10-20 minutes for them to come here. So they've got time to plan their whole thing, lay out like some props on the floor to be like, here's what we're going to do. Here's our plan for shooting these cops.
Yeah,
and
hang that up in your maths classroom. Danny Trejo looking and estimating with his skills and doing a quick dad silly triangle to figure out how long it'll take him to get there. That's not all scientists wear white coats.
No.
Some of them are Danny Trejo and have a really horrifying rep sheet in this movie.
They're going to trap the cops, box them in, and that's going to be how they get them. Poe is also he tries to save some of the cops that have been, the guards that have been bound up. He's like, they're our only leverage. He runs off somewhere, gets caught by the lads with the private drug jet. Right,
yeah,
and it's a solid gag in this, and there's a few, but the solid gag here was he's telling these guys like, hey, if you shoot me, 20 angry prisoners over there are going to hear it. So the lad just puts a silencer on, which that's
very good, very good.
Who's here to save him? It's only John Cusack.
Larking about as usual.
Who doesn't actually do any of the saving. He just kind of goes, freeze, and then Nick Cage does all the beating up. It's like James Bond when he's outside that restaurant, I think, and he's in trouble, but he manages to take care of it himself.
But someo's there to witness
someone is there to,
confirm the heroism that he's just seen. And there's a great line here where after he explains the Ranger Code and why he's held back, he then says, I'm going to go save the fucking day.
It's a great line.
It is.
Great line.
The plane is being tugged by a tractor. Petition to change the name of a tractor to a tugger. I think that, or a land tug.
I like land tugger.
Land tugger.
I like land tugger. Yeah.
I like land tugger. The Scape Jet gets some sneaky customers zipping off thinking they're going to make away without Cyrus or any of the final bosses.
Yeah.
It gets kablamoed. They're all hung up and there's loads of fuel everywhere, and they're like, Cyrus, please, Cyrus. And then in a fucking beautiful, very smart bit of dialogue, he goes, Sayonara.
Which, you know, he flicks a lit cigarette, burns him alive, boom. Now, in real life, that would have been extremely convenient to get him saying sigh, so you've got just enough time to be like, Anara. I think if you'd have tried to do that, if you tried to sync that up in a real conversation, as someone would say, even if your name was Cyrus or Simon or something like that, so it wouldn't work so perfectly. But that's proper like action movie, wonderful bullshit that I love. That was fabulous stuff.
Best type of bullshit. I don't think we've actually given him his credit yet, but John Malkovich chewing the scenery just the right level for this movie. It is so nice to finally on this podcast with you get someone who is a mustache twirling ham of an actor, and it's appropriate, and the movie's actually fun as well. Because it's always like this island of sweet ham that's floating off in this shitstorm that we have to watch. And here we go. We've got fucking Cyrus, who is the silliest, cheesiest character in the best role ever.
While all of this calamity is going off, right, Steve Buscemi has just found a little girl in a back garden, and he's singing. He's got the whole world in his head. It's very creepy. I don't like it.
Football in a gallon. We got football in a gallon.
It's really creepy and disturbed me, and I didn't like it. And it's meant to put you on edge and that kind of thing. It turns out it was fine. And they just had a nice little sing-song.
Turns out
okay.
Sam was actually the insane one. Because you think about it, he watched a movie and took notes and then talked about it.
It was insane of me to think that a serial killer would murder a child. Because that's the insane thing to do.
Or maybe you shouldn't judge books by their covers, Sam. That's the important lesson here.
True, yeah. But also the contents of the book lists many murders.
It does.
So, you know,
and tall tales of hat wearing as well.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm judging it partly by the contents of the book. The cover, it doesn't look great, but I've read the blurb and I've read the contents, and I'm like, oh.
And don't be like, oh, you mean a tail that is tall, because when you're wearing a hat that is a head, you'd be quite, no, it's not. It's just in that I don't think it happened. I think it's bullshit.
The plan to trap the cops in works. We get kaboom, cops are trapped, big bangs, gunfire everywhere.
Blammo, blammo, blammo. Like, there's enough explosions that all of the principal cast get to walk away from them individually without looking at them. Like, there's plenty to go around. You all get one.
I can't really, explain the insanity of this, but it is just blasts and booms and orange
Imagine
everywhere.
a bottle of Lucozade being shook up real fizzy, and now it's right in your eyes.
It just looks like that. Nick's found the needle, so there's a guitar solo as he runs through flames and explosions
fucking
to get back to his mate.
dreamboat.
Yeah,
you know what I hate?
stuff.
I hate this shit. If I'm ever in a dire need, don't send any fucking dreamboat to come save me, because they'll only run back in slow motion and take for fucking ever. Yeah. Come on, there's a man dying.
There's Baby out on the floor I need my insulin. Johnny Rapist is back in the plane to do some raping on that guard. Oh God. But guess who's here just in time to solve both of those situations? It's Nicolas Cage with his vest on, his long flowing hair. Biff, biff, biff. Take that, you fucking rapist. Get out of here.
Yeah, 1997's here to stop the rapist and then let the victim spit on them and go, yeah. And that's justice in of itself, isn't it? So yeah.
That's fine. So Nick Cage also ties up the plane.
He does, he anchors it.
Yeah, he anchors the plane.
I've heard of mooring a boat, but mooring a plane? That's like something Roger Moore would come up with. That's outside the box thinking.
As the plane is trying to take off again, Cyrus and Diamond Dog just shoot at the anchor thing here, but then it gets caught on the fancy car. The car is now being dragged behind the plane and looks like it's floating.
And then J.K. Rowling's like, oh, hang on. Look, another unoriginal idea for me to steal. Ooh, fuck off, yeah? Come on now.
And Poe says, on any other day that might seem strange, but today has been a pretty unusual day.
Sam, this movie has a near perfect smash to smile ratio. Oh. And I've mentioned previous episodes about blabrosk levels of calamity where I think almost you can become numb to it, where I find a lot of movies where there's a lot of smashing going on. Like I watched Bumblebee recently and there was a moment or two in there where I was like, I just almost want to turn it down because there's too much smashing for me. But every smash got a big smile on my face, and I'm not even necessarily saying because they're all legitimate tactile smashes, but like when the car is then smashed from the plane on the big hook into the tower and a big boom, oh yeah.
A thing I love is a car falling down and crumpling as it like lands off it on its front or on its back, and it just kind of mushes down into a slightly smaller, more compact car.
A nice shot of the vanity plate at the end, like
very satisfying.
Look whose ass got kicked now, am I right?
And so the prisoners are like, yeah, we got away. Sweet Home Alabama is playing. I don't know how they've got a radio playing songs on this plane, but it doesn't matter. They're all dancing around, having a good time. Steve Buscemi is like, it's ironic that they're playing this because the people who sang this song died in a plane. Oh, shut up, Steve Buscemi.
Yeah, and literally as soon as he said that, I had subtitles on for this, and this is the first time I watched the movie with subtitles, and the first time I became aware that there's a really dodgy verse in Sweet Home Alabama where it's like, I don't care about Watergate, the Vietnam War is very just, I don't know about no civil rights. It's so fucked. It's so wrong. It is naughty song. You don't get that riff anymore. Now it's Werewolves of London by Warren Zevon, and that's the end of that.
Whoa, Cyrus has figured out that there is a traitor on board, and he threatens to shoot Sally, I think Sally the female guard.
And he also threatens the bunny at one point as well.
Yeah, I'm going to kill this bunny. Baby-O's like, it was me, I did it. And then Baby-O gets shot. And, you know, Cyrus is like taking the piss out of the bunny and stuff. He's like, make a move and the bunny gets it. As Baby-O is dying on the floor, he's like, I've been shot. He's like, mate, I feel like maybe God doesn't exist. And Nick Cage's response is like, oh, right, I'm off. And Baby-O's like, where are you going? I'm going to show you that God does exist.
Now, if this came out post Passion of the Christ, if they went with it, because this felt very fucking holy indeed.
Yeah.
This felt even holier than Passion of the Christ, dare I say.
Loved it. I can't remember when we got like John Cusack and Cole Meany in separate helicopters or planes or something.
So silly arguing on rah, 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 rah. Why are they on board?
Do a barrel roll.
He's in sandals. Why is he in a fucking big shooty helicopter?
DEA man is firing at the plane. Vince is like, no, stop it.
Fire. God damn, you think of his daughter.
He's got his finger on the big red missile button. I love a big red missile button, Kevin.
I don't want Colin Meaney out there with his finger on the button trying to figure out what to do. And all the humming and hawing, they're over Sweet Home Las Vegas, Nevada. And they're going to have to make a hard crash landing through the Hard Rock Cafe. No, not the Hard Rock Cafe.
I love this whole Vegas stuff so much. I would describe Las Vegas as like mega Blackpool. It's like, you know, hyper Blackpool.
Like the fish and chips is massive.
Oh, mate.
Fucking hell, a deep dish of peas.
Kevin, their only option is to land on the Las Vegas Strip. This is the most action movie thing ever. Like, as that was, like, being said to me, like, we're going to have to put it down on the Las Vegas Strip. I was literally like, yeah! Come on! This is great. The thing of the Hard Rock Cafe guitar thing being smashed as they kind of, the wing goes through it. I watched a little video that was all done with miniatures.
Really?
Yes, it was like
incredible.
Not tiny miniatures, like a big kind of like
scale,
reconstructed.
Yeah.
It's done to scale. Search out that clip because that is good to watch.
I think it's probably the thing that impresses me the most at me even realizing it is the use of miniatures in movies. Like, you know, Star Wars, I remember watching up the docks as a kid, being blown away how much of it was done with, you know, I know you use the word miniatures, but these are miniatures that take up like an entire sound studio. It's incredible.
Big miniatures. Yeah.
Oh man, I miss that shit. I absolutely do. And I was alongside with you, Sam, hooping and hollering and fist pumping the air as all this went down. And I particularly liked that as closer as they got to the climax of the movie, the grosser John Malkovich get, because then he's going to Poe, the last thing your daughter's going to smell is my fucking minging breath.
What's he talking about there? I'm going to breathe on your daughter and then kill her.
Go away from me. Jesus. God, fuck off. Go away with your breath like a dirty old longshoreman.
The plane smashes into a casino. There's propellers flying around. A slot machine gets like 777 and all the money comes out.
Hello.
Just as it's
How do the baddies escape? How do they escape on a fucking fire truck? This is just GTA Online. You're not... Someone call them on.
We get like a little mini payoff for some of our plot stuff here. We get Baby O is going to the hospital even though he's been shot, and he's going to be fine. The lady guard Sally gives Poe a little kiss and says thank you, and that's mostly all she gets to do. Oh no, she did hit Cyrus with a gun at one point.
Oh, she temporarily bopped Cyrus.
A little temporary bop. But yeah, so Cyrus has commandeered a fucking fire engine with the rest of the gang. And so Poe and John Cusack...
Oh, it looks like a job for the Hogg brothers.
They're on police bikes together. For some reason, Poe Cameron, who is still a criminal, or is at the very least just a civilian, is like, no, I'm allowed on this police bike as well. Fuck it. They're a team now.
The man's a hero.
On they go. These action sequences with Las Vegas lights behind them, using a hose on the fire engine to spray cops off their bikes. Oh, I'm loving it. I'm loving
Ving
it.
Rhames, who I swore did more. I think there may be a director's cut of this movie that I've seen previously, because I swore Ving Rhames did more than he did in this. Because
he doesn't get much of a look in.
No, he gets unceremoniously exploded. And then Cyrus, he gave him a good poke now, a proper poke with a sharp stick. And he said, and Nick Cage says to him, "You ain't getting anywhere near my daughter." He's got big, nervous, new wrestling character in the 80s vibes to him. Like, you know, he's a big galoo who doesn't know his own strength. He's got $1 million
I'm here to
look.
prove to all you people that I'm one of the best, that you've been missing an opportunity having me on this. I'm going to be
And at
the
end,
strongest.
just because I know it's near the end, I'm going to start shouting because it's the end of the thing that I had to say now.
He handcuffs Cyrus to the ladder on the fire engine. The fire engine gets filled up with water, smashes up.
This is so sick. This is such a high score death.
Nick jumps off it as it bursts into flames. There's money everywhere. And God, the Cyrus's death sequence, as he kind of just rolls off.
It's got a 3-act structure, his death. It's ridiculous.
How did he get to the point where his head is underneath a pile driver here? How did that did he go along? He went along a conveyor belt?
He smashes off the fire engine through the kind of veranda, like walkway, the sky bridge, essentially, between these two buildings, smashes through those, lands on some high voltage electricity wires that goes, and then from that the electricity kind of pushes him off, where he just lands in a rubbly pile that is then tipped automatically into this pile driving mechanism.
Yeah.
Because apparently in Las Vegas there are these big smashers just lying around.
It's a Rube Goldberg machine of a death. It just takes so long.
And Sam, you have got to, again, the rolling document, please, when my coffin is being lowered into the earth, please play like everyone knows that was a proper bad bollocks.
So, job done. Poe and Larkin shake hands. We did it together. Now there's another man that I trust. It's you.
As well as my Lord Saviour Jesus Christ. And to a lesser extent, Baby O.
Now I'm gonna meet my daughter for the first time. How Can I Live Without You plays again.
How can you get those stains out after he fucking hugs them both? Like, they'll be fucking peeling them off. Jesus Christ. He's all sticky.
Yeah, his daughter is like, you look weird, and I don't. And he's like, oh no, I'm just smelly from all of the action film I've been in for 2 hours. And look, they get reunited. He's reunited with his wife, his daughter. He meets his daughter. They all have a nice blinking lights behind them. And who's unaccounted for here? Oh, it's only serial killer Steve Buscemi, who is now having fun in Vegas as a gambling man.
What's the matter, Sam? You too crazy to gamble?
Sweet home Alabama. And then the fucking sitcom-looking outro with all of the cast like smiling. Like,
not since Predator have we got these like family sitcom ending like. I had so much fun watching this movie.
Me too.
It's a movie that I was so thankful was just brought into my life by my friends, because I didn't see it. I think the first time I saw it, I would have been like 19 maybe or thereabouts. Okay. So I didn't get to see this, in the golden age of the 90s, when I would have seen, a lot of things like Face Off and whatnot. But my God, this is an exemplary example. This is so fucking pure. This is worthy of being put in a time capsule, I believe. This is an argument for the excess of the late 90s.
It's one of those films where I feel like if I was to really look at it and properly try and critique it and be a film critic, there's a whole host of shit wrong with this, right? It's not good, but it's good. It's fun is what it is. This is a fun, daft, switch off your brain, enjoy the chaos.
Like, it didn't take itself seriously as Face Off, even though it was as silly, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that when it was revealed to me that they were going to have to put the plane down on the Las Vegas Strip, and that visceral reaction, I was like, yeah! I felt so much joy watching this stupid film. Like, it's crap, but it's good. It's just, it's eating a big bag of fucking pink coconut things and just getting really full and queasy, but you're like excited because you got full of sugar.
I'm kind of almost glad this didn't win the Nick Cage vote, because I feel like it's not necessarily the greatest Nick Cage, advertisement, even though he's like perfectly weird and Nick Cage in it. But I feel like this is an ensemble cast, and it works because the hero's so weird and the villain's so fucking pitch perfect.
Yep.
Oh, and what a cast of characters along the way.
Yeah, as I say, there's missteps here, and there's things we could point out and be like, ugh, but it's a wild ride, and I really, really enjoyed it. I had one of those stupid fun times, and I feel happy having watched that film.
It feels like the whole concept of Cinema Swill over on Patreon is that we get promised a rip-roaring good time, like switch your brain off, it's going to be fun, and then it's so not.
But this was brain off fun.
100,000,000,000%. I'm so glad you enjoyed this. My main question is, would you find yourself watching this again?
Yes, I would love to watch this and not... This seems like I'm having a go at the whole formula of Cinema Swill, but I'd love to watch it and not be making notes about it and just be like, but let's just pop on Con Air and have a blast, because I think that feels like it's reliably one of those films. Same with Face Off, but perhaps more so with this, just in terms of the daftness of it.
If Hangover movie was a genre, I think this would fit very much in there.
This would be a good hangover movie. I think I probably should have seen this when I was probably 18, 19 would have been a good time to see this, because you could riff with your uni pals and be like, hey, look at this absolute wild thing.
I think this is the first time I've ever watched the movie while not having a big group of friends and there'd be beers and pizzas and things. Every other time I've watched it, it's either been that or it's been a day after that has happened and everyone's lying around hungover, watching the same movie.
Kevin, my review of this film is as follows. Way! That's the feeling of this film. It's just, way!
It's the thrill of a smashed glass in a public space, folks.
Yes.
Well, Sam, you've had a whirl. What is your final vote on this Cinema Swirl?
There's stuff wrong with it. It's not the most perfect film I've ever seen. This is a solid Bobby Dazzler. This is 4-star wipe film. I'm going to say it's 4-star wipes.
You heard it here first.
Whey! Thanks for listening to another episode of Cinema Swirl. This episode was produced by Kevin, edited by me, Sam, and hey, I also did the music. If you're after more Swirl content or you want to support the show, or better yet, both, patreon.com/Cinema Swirl is the place to go. On the socials, we are at Cinema Swirl on Twitter, and our Facebook is facebook.com/Cinema Swirl, which is also where our votes for episodes take place. If you've got anything for the mailbag, then send it on over to cinemaswirl@gmail.com. That's cinemaswirl@gmail.com. Please do keep recommending the show to your friends, leaving reviews on whatever podcast thing you use. It all helps us out. Thank you so much. Alright, see you next time.